So here are my 2 cents regarding Diljit Dosanjh's appearance at the 2025 Met Gala. Now, I will cover 3 things in this video, particularly first, the claim that Cartier refused Diljit's request to wear the 1928 Patiala necklace, 2, the inspiration behind Diljit's fit, and 3, lastly, does Diljit represent Sikh identity, Punjabi identity, both or neither? Now, starting off with number 1, the claim that Cartier refused Diljit rests on a single line in a New York Times piece, where his stylist is quoted as saying that she tried to borrow the iconic Cartier necklace, but it sits sealed in a museum. Now, she is almost certainly talking about the legendary 1928 Patiala necklace, but the quote never names which museum. And that vagueness is crucial, especially when coupled with the history of this fabled necklace. What could she be referring to? Possibly Cartier's own vault in Paris, where fragments of the original could be stored, or the V&A Museum in London, where currently there is a Cartier exhibition which shows what is proclaimed to be that famous necklace. And it also houses alongside with it the matching choker that Emma Chamberlain wore in 2022. However, even the Patiala family can't say what became of the original De Beers set necklace. Some, like I, believe that it was broken up and divided among its descendants. Others insist that its fate is a mystery. Given that uncertainty, was Diljit denied the jewels because of his color or religion? No, almost certainly not. If anything, securing a piece like the Patiala necklace would have taken months, if not years, just to do the paperwork, let alone sort the insurance. Whilst Met Gala looks can sometimes come together in weeks, if not hours. Now, the timing alone makes such a loan almost impossible, and that impossibility is doubly secured when the necklace in question is currently sat at a museum exhibition. The real puzzle for me isn't Cartier's response, it's actually what the stylist is referring to. Was she referring to the fragmentary original, the V&A exhibit, or another replica entirely? Until that's clarified, her quote and the controversy that it sparks remains open to interpretation. What we can confirm is this: there's no reason other than the fact that the closest version to the original is being exhibited at the V&A and therefore not available for Diljit or anyone else. Just imagine the marketing power though if he was to wear it. Second, let's have a quick look at what Diljit wore. Diljit essentially replicated or was honouring Maharaja Bhupinder Singh of Patiala, or at least the Patiala household, which does kind of fit in with the theme of the Met Gala this year, which was black dandyism, or the idea that you can take European fashion and challenge racial stereotypes. Although I do think there is an argument to be put forward that Diljit doesn't actually follow the theme, but that's a separate video all in its own right. Now, going back to Bhupinder Singh, he is a ruler whose life is controversial on several fronts. First, Bhupinder was the embodiment of princely excess. We obviously know about the famous De Beers necklace that he himself requests to be made, but alongside that he also kept a fleet of 44 Rolls Royces and spent freely on European holidays and palatial parties, fueling accusations that state revenues were being siphoned into his own personal display of wealth. Secondly, his private life scandalized even fellow royals. He had 10 official marriages, an estimated 350 concubines, and over 80 children. As a result, there were endless rumors of coercion and moral negligence, underscoring how the world he represents was open only to those born into extreme privilege. Thirdly, and perhaps most contentious of all, is Patiala's record of collaboration with the British Empire. The dynasty accepted protected status in 1809, becoming the foremost of the cis-Sutlej buffer states the East India Company used to hem in Maharaja Ranjit Singh's growing Sikh empire. However, those that point to this and say that the Patialas are traitors because they sided with the British, they also need to remember that Maharaja Ranjit Singh also had numerous treaties with the British. On top of that, Maharaja Ranjit Singh himself wanted to consume these cis-Sutlej states, and as a result, a lot of them became allies with the British in order to fend Ranjit Singh off. However, coming back, Patiala troops later guided and supplied company forces in the First Anglo-Sikh War, and joined British artillery in the 1846 action that killed Nahang's leader Baba Hanuman Singh. All of this sealing the state's image as the Raj's Sikh ally. Bhupinder doubled down on that alliance. He sat on the Imperial War Cabinet in 1918, poured thousands of soldiers and more than £1 million into Britain's First World War effort, and collected a string of foreign knighthoods. Facts that make nationalist historians cast him as a loyal client of empire rather than a champion of South rule. But at the same time, these are facts that are also celebrated by many, as the contribution ultimately helped the Allies win World War I, a war within which many of our own ancestors lost their lives. However, to dismiss Diljit entirely as a representative of Punjabiyat in any form is to overlook historical reality. Patiala was obviously a royal household of Punjab, deeply embedded in its cultural and political landscape. Likewise, erasing his Sikh identity ignores the fact that both the Patiala kingdom and Diljit himself come from Sikh backgrounds. Their personal orthopraxy may not align with everyone's standards, but that doesn't make the identity any less present or relevant. Lastly, his attire can be said to represent Sikh identity and or Punjabi identity. They certainly overlap but are not identical, and Diljit himself has never claimed to speak for either camp in any official sense, no more than any other high-profile Punjabi singer, athlete, actor, celebrity, comedian. I can go on. If you read his Met Gala turn-up as representing Sikhs, you inevitably bump into numerous conflicts. First of all, he's cut his beard. Secondly, the regalia he references belonged to a princely house whose conduct often clashed with Sikh egalitarian ideals. In addition, those claiming that he shouldn't have worn the kalgi or taken a kirpan actually forget that these are not exclusive signs of Sikh identity. They have both been adorned by royalty across the subcontinent, irrespective of religion. On the other hand, if you frame him instead as a cultural Punjabi ambassador, the lineage to Patiala's monarchs makes more sense. But even then, it's an elite, historically thorny slice of Punjabiness and representative of a social-economic reality, let's face it, none of us are going to enjoy. Now, there is a small avenue I don't think I've seen anyone consider yet, and shout out to Beyond for reminding me about this. But the Patiala dynasty, like many other princely states, turned their capital into a regional hub of education, health and culture. Just to note, the Mahindra College, built in 1875, and the Yadvindra Public School offered Punjab its first modern higher education campus and free schooling for many partition refugees. Rajendra Hospital, founded by the Patiala rulers and expanded post-independence, is still the largest civil hospital in South Central Punjab, and they provided support that helped foster the Patiala Garhana of Hindustani music, preserved the Sheesh Mahal frescoes, and kept Sikh devotional ensembles thriving. Together, these civic and cultural gifts temper some of the critiques of royal excess by showing how that wealth was also used to build lasting public assets for Punjab. In fairness, representation sits as much with the viewer's expectations as with Diljit's intent, so in fairness, you'll actually see whatever it is that you want or don't want. Now, like it or not, the spectacle reached millions. Even people who never tune into the Met Gala, like myself, found the images saturating their feeds. This brought Gurmukhi script, Punjabi language, and a map of modern-day East Punjab into the mainstream. For Sikhs across the world who are often exoticized, seeing a turban framed as a royal rather than curiosity or comedy is perhaps a jolt of validation some need, and far more will celebrate. Now, with roughly half of all Punjabi speakers outside of Punjab, the design has also clearly helped stitch together people from Toronto, London, Melbourne, Brampton, and anywhere else you can find Punjabis living. And trust me, I bumped into them in some random places like Malta and Tenerife. Ultimately, they've all been stitched into one imagined Punjabi homeland. However, by including some, it also excludes others. The Cape's map stops at the Indo-Pak border, which for various political reasons I understand, but admitting the part of Punjab with the most Punjabi speakers undercuts any claim to a pre-partition Punjabi identity. Using script that also carries Gurbani will rightfully have some Sikhs feeling uneasy about commodification. And unless the buzz leads to sustained pushes, say for Punjabi language education or farmers' rights, the gesture risks being dismissed, and in my opinion it is aesthetic tokenism. I went into this really quite skeptical, barely interested, but the flood of posts, messages, and the poll that I ran a couple of days ago forced me to look closer. What I found was an upside. Diljit's entrance has put Sikh and Punjabi culture into the global spotlight and punched holes into stubborn stereotypes. Yes, the look obviously also carries baggage, historical excess, colonial collaboration, and a swirl of mixed signals, but it also has sparked a rare planet-wide conversation about who Sikhs are and how Punjabis see themselves. Even if some viewers misread the references, the fact that we're all talking about this is a win, I guess, that I hadn't expected.